Welcome to the New England Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame. Thank you guys for coming. Again, for you guys who don't know who I am, hopefully you do by now, but my name's Anibal Nieves. Some of you guys know me as Anibal Nieves, okay, but I'm used to it. My good friends call me Niba. Again, thank you. It's a privilege for me to be here, an honor to be hosting this event. Last couple years, I started trying to get some information, and I said, why isn't there girls in the Hall of Fame? You know, I think, again, I'm not sure what the statistics are, but in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, I know Tricia Saunders in there, and I'm not sure who else. But here in New England, you know, we've been rich with, and fortunate to have a lot of girls who done amazing things. So I started thinking, you know, how do we get these girls, you know, exposed and let everyone know what they have done? So I said, oh, let's create a Hall of Fame for them. And this is how it started. I moved up here in 1995, and I started coaching at American International College. Right after my second Olympics in '96, I was running practice, and I'm not sure exactly the time or, you know, how it happened, but had a mother of a female wrestler come up to me. Her name was Melissa Fuqua. She was from Westfield, and she goes, "Could you coach my daughter?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't see anything wrong with that. She was surprised that I took the challenge, and I go, "Yeah, no problem. You know, I'm running small little clubs. Bring it down." So we started coaching. I started coaching her. Then came another one, little. Back then she was little. Girl from Greenfield, Mass. Okay, and I started, you know, running a small club with like 10, 12 wrestlers, and there were my only two females in the club. And I remember especially Elena. Okay, Pirozhkova here. I was a little intense, and I would tell her, "Hey, do you know there's opportunities for girls? You know, you can get out to the Olympic Training Center. You can do this, you can do that." And she looked at me like I was crazy, and eventually, not because of me, what she did out there, became one of the best wrestlers in the country, and Olympian, and 4-time medalist now. 5, 6 world teams. I forget. I lose count. And now she thinks she can actually beat me, but we'll see about that. But again, it's an honor, and I thank you guys for coming. I've been privileged to meet almost everyone who's getting inducted. Okay, either exposing a little bit as myself as coaches. You know, I know Stephanie. I took her to Puerto Rico. Okay, way back in the day, she's come up and train. Who else is here? And Jill, of course, she's my assistant coach last year, and I was fortunate enough to coach her when she won her high school national title. So a few of them I knew earlier, and the rest I got to know as time went on. So again, thank you very much. We're gonna start with a video, and here we go. inspiring, right? Every time I see it, and I'm a guy wrestler, I get pumped up, okay? Every time I see it. But this is what you guys have done, and this is what you guys are doing for those little girls out there, and all those young girls who are now wrestling. You're creating dreams and inspiring these guys. So that's why this is important, okay? Our first inductee, okay? Before we start, okay, guys, wrestling, women's wrestling has grown big time, okay? I want to introduce, okay, this is something I was just thinking, notes, I throw them out the window. But I want to introduce my women's team. Right now, there's over 25 collegiate women's wrestling team in this country, okay? And USA, it's way back in, they're way back in time with this, okay? Because all over the country, there's been women's wrestling on collegiate teams and club teams. USA just started catching up a few years ago. But, so we're fortunate. Again, he's not here today, but I wanted to thank my athletic director that was able to see the same vision I had. Hey, let's start a women's team here. You know, why not? We have the best area in the country, right here in Western Mass. We have the Canadian system right up, 5-6 hours away. So it was a good deal. He brought me in and said, let's do it. Okay, now today we have a few of our girl wrestlers here, so I'm gonna ask them to stand up and embarrass them a little bit. So first one, Anna Ernst, stand up. There you go. She's one of our stick wrestlers. Gloria Maldonado, Destiny Garrett, and Cindy Calypso, back in the back. Okay. So because of you guys, what you guys have done, we're able to have this, and these girls are able to participate and continue and hopefully have dreams and accomplish stuff that you guys have done, and hopefully continue on and do other things. Okay, our first inductee. Danielle Hobeka. Okay, come on up. I'm going to say a little bit something about Danielle first. Danielle, oh, and I need my cheaters here. I won't look up. Danielle, multiple time senior level All-American. Okay, she earned her first spot on the USA Women's National Team in 1988. At the end of her freshman year of college. 1998, exactly. That's what I got here.
Oh.
Okay. 1998. Graduated from Harvard, making the 2003 and 2004 national team. She was a New York Athletic Club Holiday International Open champion. She was the University National champion. She qualified for the Olympic trials in 2004. Now she is in MMA, kickboxing, Jiu-Jitsu Brazilian martial arts. She's also a champion of that. And she's gonna give you her story. Thank you. Danielle.
Thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Coach Nieves for giving us this opportunity, and thank you all for coming. In terms of how I got started, I was actually one of the very fortunate female wrestlers that never had to wrestle against a boy in my career. When I began, I was a senior in high school at Cambridge Rindge and Latin, and one of my best friends was the captain of the boys wrestling team. And I came to a few of his matches, and I definitely wanted to try it. I was the captain of several other sports teams at my high school and wanted something a little more challenging than swimming and tennis. So I talked to the coach, and he said, yeah, sure, you can, join the team, we'll show you some moves, and you can be our manager. But I wanted a little more than that. So once I started practicing, he saw that I was serious about it, and word had spread among the high school that, I was going to join the team, and 3 other very athletic females joined, so we had our own mini team of 4 girls. And apart from that, Brookline High School, which was a nearby high school, had a team of about 20 girls on the team. And every several weeks they would hold women's wrestle-arounds in various tournaments, so myself and my teammates always got to wrestle against girls. And I know that that's not the story for many of the females today. After that, I walked on to a Division I men's wrestling team at Harvard University, and I probably wouldn't have done that with only 1 year of wrestling under my belt had it not been for another female who had already paved the way. Her name is Laura Lee Summer, and she was a senior when I was a freshman and convinced me to join the team with her. She had been there practicing with the men for many years, and after that, she introduced me to freestyle wrestling and the whole USA Women's National Circuit, and the rest is history. I made the national team in my first year, but then again, women's wrestling's come a long way. I think we only had 8 people in my weight class at nationals that year. So, so here's to being a pioneer. You know, most of the women here really paved the way for the girls to have college wrestling teams now. There was maybe 1 team when I started wrestling, Minnesota Morris, and then eventually 2, 3 popped up when I was in college. But I think it's so great what Coach Nieves is doing for the women to give them the opportunity to wrestle in college. So I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I do want to say one quick thing about a current endeavor that I've been a part of to help the sport of wrestling. I don't know if you guys watched the World Championships this year and watched Elena, but most of us were crowded around a really bad web stream at like 2 in the morning, and we're wondering, why isn't wrestling televised on TV? You know, these big events to showcase amazing athletes, and you have to stay up till the wee hours of the morning just to watch our Olympic or world team medalists. So the endeavor that I'm part of, it's called the National Registry for Wrestling, and basically what it's doing is it's building a list of every single wrestling fan in the nation. Once we hit 1 million people, we're going to take this list and say, look, wrestling has 1 million fans. We deserve to have more television time. Numbers sort of relate to advertisers in terms of, you know, you have a fan base here, we can advertise to them. So we can use these numbers to show that we have a great fan base and therefore get us more television time on major media networks. So I put a few postcards out on the way out, so if you guys get a chance, just go to nr4w.com. It stands for the National Registry for Wrestling, and just take 2 minutes to sign up, and if you refer 10 people, you get a free t-shirt. If you refer 25, a hoodie, and 100, a jacket. So the more wrestling fans you can get, the better. Thank you, guys.
This is it's history. So again, Danielle Hobeka, the first ever inductee into the New England Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame. Okay, this time I'll try to speak clearly, because I know I said 1998. Our next inductee and Hall of Famer, Cheryl Wong. She's a multiple senior level All-American, 2004-2008 Olympic team trials qualifier, top 8 rankings from 2003 to 2008, which is 6 years straight ranked in the top 8, Western Olympic qualifier champion, founder of the Beat the Street girls wrestling program in New York City, funded the program as a volunteer with 0 funding, grew a women's position to a full-time position at Beat the Streets. Program now works with the public school system of New York to provide at least 13 full funded season girls wrestling program. Okay, she's done a lot. It's amazing. Okay, she was sponsored and wrestled for the New York Athletic Cup team. So I'd like to bring up our second Hall of Famer, Cheryl Wong.
So I want to say thank you also to Coach Niba and to his team and to his supporters for doing this. Like you pointed out in your speech, female leaders are often not memorialized, but the existence of this hall and this team, his wrestling team, are a part of a trend to change that. So, and I also, this is getting a little off my notes too, but I just want to say that Coach Neba talked about paving the way, and Danielle talked about Laura Lee Summer, who opened the doors for her. And I just want to say I wouldn't have wrestled if it wasn't for Danielle, actually, because when I went to Boston University, they didn't want me to wrestle there, and the only reason why I was able to wrestle in college is because there was one other girl who reached out to me. I didn't even know she existed, but she reached out to me to get me to wrestle. So I feel like that's something we should mention for today, because I think it's important that we realize that part of this is part of a chain of change, I guess, and then we're all part of it. So out of my 16 some years of wrestling, the founding of the girls wrestling program at Beat the Streets has been the most impactful of anything that I've done. When I first qualified for the Olympic team trials in 2004, which was the first year that women were wrestling and competing in the Olympics, I thought at that point that had made all the harassment that I went through worthwhile. Because just as a side note, my experience in wrestling was completely opposite from Danielle's. I never was on a girls' team. The only girls' team I was even a part of was the one that I started. So I had a really hard time coming up wrestling. But so when I qualified, I thought that made all the harassment I experienced. I thought that made all the harassment I experienced worthwhile. Then one day before I started the girls wrestling program at Beat the Streets, I was at a practice, and there was one girl there, and she was really quiet. She wasn't very good, but I was really happy that there was another girl there, so I went to work with her and I started coaching her. And she started telling me about how she wanted to wrestle at her school, but the coach wouldn't let her. So at that point, I thought to myself, of all the times that I was told that girls shouldn't wrestle because it's not something girls were supposed to do, of all the times that I saw or that I experienced of all the times that I saw other female athletes or that myself experienced sexual harassment at the hands of coaches or teammates, of all the times that my things were taken or my locker was vandalized by people who didn't think that women should wrestle, I thought at that point, what did it matter? What was the purpose of all of that if I can go into a practice today and see other little girls suffering the same kind of harassment that I had experienced? So that was the year that I started coaching. I think that was 2010. And initially I was hesitant because being part of a group is easier than taking accountability for the welfare of others and being a leader. But there was something bigger than me at stake at that point. There were these younger versions of myself that I could see being pushed around by a world that I'd already fought, and whose tricks I could see coming. And I looked at these girls, and I couldn't let them suffer through the same fight that I had suffered. So, scared as I was, I fought. I fought by building them a website with the help of Danielle, actually, at a time when there was no website promoting girls wrestling. I fought by organizing fundraisers, by organizing tournaments and clinics and practices where there were none for girls before. I fought tooth and nail to build an infrastructure that could self-perpetuate. I also fought with these young women to recognize themselves as leaders and warriors. Once I was holding a practice with a girl from Bathgate Educational Complex in the Bronx, and it was at the NYAC. I don't know how many of you have been there, but I brought her to the bottom of the stairs. It's about a 30-foot, not 30-foot, but it's about a 30-floor building. So I brought her to the bottom of the stairs, and I got her ready to do stairs with me, and as I walked her over there, she just looked up the stairs and she was like, oh no. She was like, oh no. And then she just turned around to start picking up her stuff. And I followed her, and I turned around and I said, I'm not going to make you stay, because it is your choice how you spend your time, and you need to own your choices. But you need to know that you are deciding here today to either give up because you're tired, or to put in the discipline and hard work it takes to get you to being as great as I know you can be. She came back into the wrestling room that day, and she continued that practice with me. And that girl now wrestles in college. She now got a scholarship to wrestle at Missouri Valley College. So I speak of all of these things as fighting more than I speak of these things as fighting as much as, if not more than, the actual time that I spend on the mat, because they were fighting. There wasn't a single part of becoming like achieving what I did as a competitor or building what I did as a program builder or coach that was easy. There wasn't a single part of it that was easy. But just as, if you guys aren't familiar with the Beat the Streets Girls Wrestling program, in the 3 years that I ran the program, which NEWWHOF just kind of capped, but to like break it out a little more, what I started as a volunteer program with zero funding has now turned into a full-time paid position that's working with the Public School Athletic League of New York to have it now has at least 13 high school teams, a fully funded freestyle schedule with regular like weekly competitions, and there's also competitions for middle school girls. When I first started coaching in New York City, there were maybe 30 girls out of all the public schools and private schools competing, and now there's over 150, and that's in the span of 3 years. So I leave you all with 2 quotes. The first is from Harvard wrestling coach Jay Weiss, actually, who supported me a lot while I was competing at Boston University. And he said this to me when I was discouraged about the harassment that I was facing in college once. He said, "You have choices, you make decisions, and you have consequences. You choose to feel the way you feel." So I say this kind of to everyone, but I also look at Destiny, honestly, to put her on the spot. I look at my girls because this is who I feel like these kinds of things are for, because you guys are going on. You guys are going to be the future. I bring up that quote to say that in any difficult situation, you can choose to give up or you can choose to keep going. You can choose to pay attention to the things that are wrong, or you can choose to focus on what you can do to make it better. And the last quote that I'm going to leave you with is a quote from one of my female fighter friends. So I was frustrated one night and I didn't want to go to practice. And so she said to me, "Cheryl, one day you will face the scariest opponent you've ever faced. You will face someone who will make your stomach churn. Tonight you prepare for that. Tonight is the night." I leave that to say, whatever the women here, whatever the women who have been inducted today have achieved, it's the beginning. It's the beginning of a story that you all will carry on. Every practice you go to, every hour you put in studying, you are preparing for a battle in whatever form that may be for you to fulfill your purpose in making the world a better place. And that's it.
Next person. Couldn't be here. I'm going to read her accomplishments because that's what I was supposed to do anyway. Read some of the accomplishments. You guys come up here and tell your stories. Next person. Deana. I know it's Dee. Deana Ricks Betterman. Okay. Deana's from Maine. She was second in the U.S. World Team Trials. She's a Pan American gold medalist. There's a lot here, okay? I'll do my best to cut it down. As we get going, there's going to be a lot more. Okay, third in the U.S. Open, second in the outstanding Ukrainian Wrestling Memorial International. She was a Dave Schultz Memorial International Champion, multiple New York AC champion and place winner, multiple senior level All-American. She was a USA National Champ, World Team member, fifth in the world. Deana Ricks, and luckily, guys, we have via satellite, we have Deana talking.
Hey everyone, it's Deana Betterman, formerly known as Deana Ricks. I just wanted to video in and say thank you for this great opportunity and being inducted into the NEWWHOF Hall of Fame. It's such a great honor. Thank you to Anibal for putting all this together. I know he's put a lot of work into it. I got started wrestling when I was just 4 years old. My dad was the wrestling coach and would always bring me on trips with him, and I would watch all the practices and run around like a crazy. One day he needed someone to fill in at the 36-pound weight class, and I was there, hopefully just taking forfeits, but there ended up being people actually to wrestle, and I got my butt whipped. I got my teeth knocked out and came off the mat crying. And everyone thought it was because I lost the matches, but I was crying because I couldn't find my tooth to put under my pillow. And ever since then, I have stuck with it and loved the sport ever since. I'd like to thank my parents for always believing in me and having my back through everything we've gone through with wrestling. It's been a long journey, but I'm glad I've done everything, and I wouldn't be where I am today without wrestling. I hope the younger generation out there, I hope I've been able to inspire them throughout my career in some way, and I hope we can continue to make women's wrestling the fastest growing sport in the U.S. All right, thank you.
Deanna's she's a proud mom of 2 children now, so that's one reason why she couldn't make it out. She just had a baby, and 6 weeks ago. So again, thanks. We're lucky enough to again have her make a video for us. Next. Okay. Erin Golobo. Okay. Again, she couldn't make it. But we have special satellite video from her too. But I'm going to read a little bit of her credentials. She's originally from Vermont. She was second in the U.S. World Team Trials, multiple senior level national All-American, okay, multiple time finalist. She was third in the Dave Schultz Memorial International. Second in the Pan Am Championships. She's a bronze junior world medalist. Second Sunkiss International. There's a lot. And she wrestled at Marquette, Michigan at the Northern Michigan program that they started. That I think did they start before the OTC? Can't remember. Okay, it was a program they started for high school wrestlers. So she was as a high school wrestler, she was on this program with the U.S. Circuit. So we want to congratulate Erin, and we're going to hear a little what she has to say now.
Hi everyone, I would like to thank you all for coming to New England's Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame. I apologize I'm not there. As you know, I'm Erin Clacho. How I got started wrestling was in 7th grade. I got started a long time ago. I was at recess and a kid threw a ball at me and hit me in the chest, and so I punched him. And I needed to join a sport, so I picked wrestling. And I've never looked back since, and I don't think I've made a better decision ever in my life since then. Wrestling has impacted me in so many ways. It's given me so much opportunity and so much to do in my life versus just everyday person. I've gotten to travel around the world. I've gotten to make something of myself, make a name of myself, and I love doing it. I think my biggest supporters and who I'd like to thank would be my coaches and my family. I don't think I've had a bigger supporters than my parents, and I don't believe there really are bigger supporters than your parents. But I'd have to say thank you to them because they have been there for me through thick and thin. My dreams for the future is become an Olympic champion, be a world champion, be the best wrestler I could be, and to promote women's wrestling, to show that it's not just a boys' sport. That it's not a boys' sport anymore, it's a women's sport now. Thank you. Thank you, Annabelle.
And I said her last name wrong because she has my name wrong too. I don't know if you guys caught that. Okay. Next, inductee in Hall of Fame. I know this one very well. Too well probably. Good friend of mine's. I met her in high school. Had the privilege to coach her in one of her national finals, and she won. So it was awesome being there. Iuliano, she's from Manchester, Connecticut. She was a 4-year varsity wrestler on the boys team. She was a high school girls folk style national champ, 4-time New England girls champion, had over a 500 record against boys. She was second at junior nationals. She was a multi All-American senior level third at the senior level nationals, third at the World Team Trials, Copa Sparta International Champion, Brock University Champion in Canada, trained and lived in the OTC way back in the day when they first started the program. It's like some of the other ones, the other girls in Colorado. She was sponsored and wrestled for the New York HC as well. She was on one of my first collegiate. She was on my first collegiate women's club team at American International College. Okay, I recruited and I used my boys' recruiting money to bring her in. So I was happy she was able to come, and Jill helped me coach last year when we started, second year when we started the Stick Women's Wrestling Program. So I'd like to call up Jillian.
How's everybody doing tonight? I also like to thank Anibal for putting this event together. I think it's amazing to be a part of something so honorable. It's amazing to be with all these elite athletes. How I got involved with wrestling, I actually have the complete opposite story of Cheryl. I was very much accepted. I actually my dream was to become a UConn basketball player, actually. I know it's 5'4", it's kind of hard to imagine, but that's what I wanted to do. And unfortunately I got cut, so a couple of my friends who were guys wanted me to join the 8th grade wrestling team. And I was a gymnast at that point, so I was like, oh, hey, why not? And that was the first tournament that I've ever won, was in 8th grade against boys. And then I actually wanted to try out for basketball again my freshman year, but the varsity wrestling coach and the football coach from Manchester High recruited me to join the wrestling team. And that's when I wrestled off every year and got the varsity spot all 4 years. And then ended up meeting Anibal and ended up becoming AIC student. And that's all she wrote from there, I guess. But I was very fortunate. I didn't get harassment. I was encouraged by my teammates, my coaches, my friends and family. And I know a lot of other people didn't have that that type of story, and it must have been very difficult for them. But luckily, I was able to have a great ride when I did. I also want to thank my family for the love and support that they gave me, especially when I was sucking weight all those miserable times. I probably, they probably wanted to kill me half the time. But and I also want to thank a couple of my coaches that basically helped me achieve things I didn't think were possible. When my physical, I thought that I couldn't do it, and it's mind over matter. And so I want to thank John Knapp, Anibal Nieves, Shazad, Amadi, Mike Jones for helping me achieve things I didn't think were possible. Thank you.
Okay, our next inductee, Stephanie Shaw. She's from Waterford, Connecticut. Okay, 1994 joined the Waterford Youth Wrestling Club. She was AAU La Femme National Junior Level Triple Crown Champion, which is folk style, freestyle, and Greco-Roman. Girls Wrestling Association National Champ. Connecticut JV Champion, which was a boys division, and outstanding wrestler. Okay, she was a Junior National Women's Champion. Northeast Olympic Qualifier Champion, which qualified her for the 2004 Olympic Trials. Second in the U.S. Olympic Trials Challenge Tournament, 2005 to 2007. Second and third at the U.S. National Championships. She was 2008 Senior National Champion. She was also the WCWA National Champion for Oklahoma City University. I'd like to bring up Hall of Famer Stephanie Shaw.
So I didn't prepare a speech for this, just a heads up, guys. I'm really prepared like that for things. The first and foremost people that I just want to thank are sitting over there, my family. I wouldn't have started or done any of this without them. My brother is the reason I started. My brother and my father, they're the blame for this whole shenanigan, is those two over there. My mother has always been, my biggest fan. My dad is my coach most of my life. You can ask him. My dad was the women's Connecticut director for I don't know how many years, just because his poor soul had to deal with me. So they have been my biggest supporters through everything through here. My story with wrestling is a lot like Jill's. I had a fairly good experience. I wrestled guys my whole life. Never didn't. I was varsity all 4 years in high school as well. I was varsity in JV. I was team captain. Yeah, I dealt with some flack from the guys, but who didn't? They're men.
I was already going by that point.
I don't want to hear it. I'm related to you. And it was tough, but I feel that it made me a better wrestler because I was challenged every day with these people and I wasn't given any slack. And I'm not saying women's wrestling gives you slack. I'm just saying that, you know, for me, this was the best story I could have had. I had some horrible experiences, and yeah, I cried and went home, and I got tortured and teased and, you know, had some really bad experiences. I've been cornered by coaches before and yelled at and told I didn't belong, and I kept doing it anyways. It was usually after I beat their kids, so who cares? But, you know, I do hope that this helps and paves the way for women, because nobody should suffer any kind of, you know, harassment. It shouldn't be like that. This is a sport, we're athletes, and there should be no harassment. It shouldn't be Cheryl's story, you know. I hate that for her. You know, I was up at the same time Cheryl was, and that sucks, and I hate to hear that. But I really do hope this helps, and, you know, I have the same people to thank everybody else does. Anibal, who can't spell my name right, I should call you Annabelle. John Knapp, I love that man to death, love him to death. Love that guy. You know, my parents, my high school coaches, everybody that put up with me. So thank you guys very much.
Last inductee and Hall of Famer. I don't think I need my cheat sheet over here. I got to know Elena pretty well, so I'm just gonna go on. She's a 4-time world medalist, okay, world champion, Olympian. Hoping that pretty soon she'll be a gold Olympic medalist. She's living out and training at the OTC in Colorado right now. Multiple time national champs, I lose count. Multiple everything champion. So again, just not to cut it short, but I'd like to bring up Elena Pirozhkova.
Thank you for everybody for coming. I don't have a speech prepared as well, so I just like to wing it. First of all, it's been really great to hear everybody's stories so far. I've known these women, I've competed against them. Me and Stephanie Shai used to compete against each other growing up. But it's just really nice to hear everybody's stories, and it's just great to see how far these women have progressed and become leaders and really giving back to the community. Something that I haven't had a chance to do yet, but once I'm done competing, hopefully that'll be my next step. How I started wrestling, I had a pretty good experience. My family supported me for the most part. How it all started, my brother came home one day and he was like, hey, step on the scale. So I stepped on the scale. I was 114 pounds in 7th grade, and he was like, hey, we need somebody for the 112-pound weight class. You should come wrestle. I was like, yeah. And like, I watch WWF. I have an idea of what wrestling is like, you know. So I'm like, all right. So my brother brings me in for practice, and I remember I walked in the wrestling room, and it was just in this just back room, kind of. The mat was really old, really cold. It was hard. I remember I walked over and I was like, okay, like I see people slam each other, so I walked over and I kind of like fell on the mat a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of hurts. I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is gonna go, but all right, we'll see. Once I started wrestling, I didn't really know what it was, so everything about it made me uncomfortable. Like when we had to get in parterre and get in parterre position, hand on the stomach, like the whole time I was blushing, like it was just really bad. So my brother after practice, he's like, you know what? He's like, you're embarrassing. Like, you should quit. It wasn't about you're a girl, you should quit. He's like, I thought you were gonna be a better athlete. So I remember I was just so upset at myself because wrestling, it made me so uncomfortable so many ways, physically, mentally, every way it made me uncomfortable. So I didn't want to quit. I wanted to figure out why it made me feel like this. So, and I wanted to kind of make my brother mad. So every single day I came back every single day. And then next year I came back again, and after that, I was wrestling not because I wanted to prove my brother wrong. It's because I actually started liking it. So all through high school, I was on the varsity team. I became a team captain my junior and senior year. And after that, I thought I was gonna be done wrestling. When I was graduating, I think we had maybe like 4 or 5 college teams available to go to for women to compete. And I was thinking, I thought I was gonna be done. So I already applied to like our Greenfield Community College. And I thought I was gonna stop wrestling. So I just happened to meet a coach that was the new coach out in Colorado Springs, and he invited me out to move to Colorado, and that's kind of where my whole new chapter started out towards the Olympics. But through my high school days, knowing Aniba, I don't know how we met, but I remember one day I think it was actually here in the gym. I remember me and him were walking after practice, and he was telling me, he's like, hey, he's like, there's this place out in Colorado Springs. He's like, it's great. Like, you're gonna be an Olympian one day. Like like you can do all these amazing things. And I remember walking with this guy. I'm like, man, this guy's crazy. I'm like I really do remember thinking this, because he's telling me, he's like, I'm gonna make the Olympic team, and I should move out to Colorado and train. I'm thinking, I just want to go to like Greenfield Community College. Or, like, I don't know. So I think I really have a lot to say thank you to Aniba, because he's the first person that really introduced me into freestyle wrestling and really believed in me and really pushed me, because there were times that I really didn't want to come, and he would force me or tell me, hey, he's like, you don't have to pay for this tournament, or you just come to this practice. He's like, I'll come pick you up. So he was one of the people that really pushed me to where I am now. So thank you for that.
I'd like to bring all the Hall of Famers up, please. Stay over here.